Hi everyone, my name is Jasbir.
And I'm Zen.
And this is episode 3 of
Leading Through the Middle.
Last time we met, we spoke about work-life balance and we looked at some of the mindsets, right? We discussed quite a few of them, taking ownership, work should be a source of joy, a lot
unique
of stuff.
contribution, Find your own unique contribution for leverage.
Yeah, we spoke about a bunch of stuff. And if you want to learn about those philosophies of work-life balance, please check out that episode. But today we want to build on that a little bit more. We want to talk about getting to the tactical. How do we actually physically manifest it? How do we actually achieve it? So Zen, let's start with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that right now you have a fairly balanced work life?
Yes.
Okay.
It was hard to get here, to be honest with you.
Okay. What were some of the challenges that make it hard to got you? What were the challenges you had to overcome before you achieved the balance that you have?
One is career choices, the choice of organization. I would say first one. I was in a startup. I was in audit.
Okay.
No work-life balance.
Okay.
And I was in a startup. I worked weekends actually.
Yeah.
No work-life balance either back then when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think one deliberate thing that I did was, in consulting, we do work hard, but we also have more autonomy of our time.
Okay.
And I think it's also the phase of our career. We have established the unique level of contribution that allows me some leverage.
So what I'm hearing you say is that as you aspired to have work-life balance, one of your early learnings was needing a place that gives you autonomy. Because when you were in audit, I suppose that was your first job.
Yes, first job.
You were bottom of the food chain, right? Fresh grad. Yeah. There's really no autonomy, right?
Yeah.
And then in a startup, everything has to go on such frantic speed that again, as much as you can work anywhere, but you know that your time, you had no autonomy over your time because everyone's expecting everything so far. So for you, autonomy was a key enabler of balance.
Definitely.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I think that resonates, right? So going into a place where people... So I started off as a lawyer, very short, basically just did my practice traineeship, and then opportunities came. But the difference in the observation was that as a junior lawyer in training, your time was controlled by the task given to you by people around you. Yeah. And they expected to see you at your desk. They expected to see outputs at a regular interval. However, when I moved to private sector, it was private sector anyway, the MNC Hydric Consulting back then, the boss's mindset were very different. They had given you the task. They weren't going to expect you to be at your desk. They weren't going to expect you to be there beyond a certain time because they weren't going to be there. Yeah. They just knew that next week they're going to see you. They want to see the output, right? It was very output based, quality based judgment,
not
rather
time
than
bound.
Not time, not about iterations and all that. They trusted the output that you would produce. And so I realized that autonomy was also a key part of that, right? So looking for a career that gives you that autonomy to manage your time, I think that's one.
Yeah, that might sound too rosy for some of our listeners because I know both of us, we were in consulting around mid-career, right? And when we first joined, we did have certain challenges. My specific challenge was managing the perception of stakeholders because you not only have one boss. Yeah. In our job, you have like 10 to 12 bosses asking you to do different things.
Different seniors.
And every one of them will expect certain things from you. At the same time, they have no visibility of what you were up to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were some of your challenges and how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I think that, direct to your point about managing that multiple stakeholders above you who have no visibility and they just keep expecting.
Yeah.
I think one thing that Adam Grant actually talked about in one of his work-life podcasts, I think he has a podcast called Work Life, right? He talked about presenting back to that requester the other deliverables and priorities that you're currently working on.
Oh, tell me how it sounds like,
So one of our bosses might come to me and say, hey, Jess, I need your help on this project. We got this proposal to be done in a week's time. It's really important. It's worth X dollars. Okay, great. But I already know that I've got a whole bunch of other things that I've already committed to. Some of them are my own projects. Some of them are projects that I've agreed to help you or somebody else on. And so I have to empathize with that person and say, hey, look, this sounds really exciting. I can give you some help, but I want you to know what else I've got going on so that we can balance what's a priority. So right now, this week, I've got to do A, B, C, and D. I have about 2-3 hours a day that I can help on your project. I can't be on it full time. Where would you like me to best contribute to this? right? And that way you paint them the picture of what's going on and let them recognize that, okay, they need to prioritize what is your involvement. Are you doing everything? Are you like the leader of the project with her? Or are you just there to lend one unique contribution?
I think what you said also protects the ego of the other person. It's not that I don't want to work with you.
Yeah. It's not, no, sorry, I don't want to work with you. Yeah. No, it's about, hey, this sounds really great. It's super cool, but look, honestly, this is what I've already got on. How can I best contribute? And then I've done it a few times, and actually I found that okay, that's fair. Thanks for letting me know. What I want then is for you to come in and give an outside-in perspective, given your leadership development knowledge, to see whether we have hit the right metrics that clients usually look for.
There's some people that we coach that tells me, okay, you know, in terms of managing perception, I hope my work speaks for itself.
No, it doesn't.
Interesting, right? Why do you say that?
I think it's a mixed thing, right? Yeah, your work should speak for yourself. I think that's nice, and that's the ideal situation. But sometimes, look at our annual performance review, right? Our annual performance review typically in most companies has two parts. One is your KPIs. Have you met your KPI? The other part is the ways of working. Some companies call it the WOW. Some companies call it the culture and values, right? And you're judged on both parts, right?
Yeah.
And so while your work may hit your KPIs, they are going to look at other intangible factors in the ways of working. Yes, the performance review would specify some of the things they look for, but everyone knows that the bosses there don't really give that the detail. They kind of put a intangible judgment. Oh, how much does Zen contribute to the team? How much does Zen stay late and how early does she come? Right? That's
Exactly.
oh yeah, this guy's always this guy's always in the earliest. So they could be playing Minecraft, right? You know, what the hell? But these intangible things impact your visibility. Right? These intangible things impact your brand. So without having to stoop so low as to purposely be the first one in and purposely be the last one out, the question is, while your work is good, what else can you do to improve the visibility of your work? So that, okay, people trust that while you have balance, you are also delivering high quality work.
And the more you speak about your philosophy, your mindset, and certain boundaries that you have, I find that the more other people will also advocate that for you. So for example, if somebody says, hey, you know, partners talk, your bosses talk, and they'll be like, oh, I'm noticing that Zen is always working from home. And then my boss, because she understands how I work, she's like, Zen is an introverted thinker. So she needs time to do her thinking. You know, but for discussion, she can come to the office, no problem. You can just request for that. I find that when you share more about your working style or what you need to be at your best self, at the same time delivering superior work, other people who are more aware of it will also help to advocate, hey, this is the situation for them. That is also part of managing perception that gives you more balance, because I'm an introverted thinker. Yeah, I need to think first and then I will come to the discussion, right? Yeah.
And I think coming back to the example you brought up in the last episode where about the European colleague who said, no, sorry, I can't make the Saturday meeting. Please let me know how I can catch up on Monday. Now, if I were to build on that, I think that person was a mother of two, right? And people in the office know that she has some responsibilities on the weekend with her kids. And so when people start to know you personally as a human being, not just as a worker, bee, a robot, they know you're an introverted thinker, they know that this person's a mother of two, they start to also appreciate your boundaries. And they appreciate that, okay, I'm, you know, for this person, I know that he or she has responsibilities at this time. Oh, she's got to pick up the kids at 6. She's got to do this or he's got to do that. Okay, they will respect that and they will not ask of things unless it was really necessary.
So that is whole thing about managing perception, managing your different stakeholders, that is really important for you to have your balance and what your balance look like. Yeah. I would say that sometimes you condition other people to expect certain things from you. I know of colleagues who have children like you, and they would say, I need to go pick up my kid at 5. But I will be back online at 8.
Yeah. So I do that sometimes. I know a couple of people who do that as well. But, you know, why should you be online at 8, right? So for some, it could be other timings, right? So 8 might work for you if that's your lifestyle is like that. For me, once I'm home, you know, putting the kids to bed, spending time with the wife, all of that, or exercise, I'm not going to come online at 8
Yeah.
unless I really need to.
Yes.
But what I would do if it was individual work and I really needed to find more time to hit the deadlines on time, I'll do it at 5 a.m. I'll just wake up early that day. I'll go to bed by 10. For me, that productivity-wise, that works better. Some people work better at 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Not for me. Productivity, first thing in the morning. 5 a.m. I'll wake up, brush my teeth, have a shower. 5:30 I've started.
Yeah.
And till 7:15 I'm doing an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes of good deep work to clear that report or that deck. And then I'm 7:15, get the kids ready for school, we're out the door.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone's got to work out their own way. Now, I think what we need to be really clear about is that we got to earn our balance. Right? We cannot just say, oh, work ends at 6. Okay, it's not done. I'm going to leave because that's my right. Now, we spoke about how work is not family. It's a transaction, but you got to hold up your end of the transaction,
Yeah,
right?
you got to have some credits in the bank.
Yes,
You
credits in
have
the bank.
helped save some situations and crises
Yeah.
with some of your stakeholders, and they know that you are capable of doing that if your timing allows.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
back up this one. So credit in the bank. I think this is a very interesting one, right? I think for us, we need to have to have in unfortunately in this world that we live in this kind of working environment, work-life balance is still a misnomer, right? It's still a luxury,
Yeah.
right? And so that would, if we were to have balance, we're debiting, right?
Yes.
Debiting from our account.
Yeah, it might seem that way.
Yeah, it might seem that way. But so then to manage that, we got to put credits in the account. So there's a few levels of credit. I think one level is your own KPI, your own task given to you. What is the quality of the work? That one is fundamental.
Basic.
Nobody's gonna question you if everything you do, you hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
People won't question. But if you want work-life balance and yet the quality of the work is subpar, right? Or worse still, deadlines are missed, right? Or work is not done, then you're opening up yourself for some targeting. Right? So if you want work-life balance, yes, we can achieve it, but we have to manage the world we operate in, and people expect quality. People expect that what you have committed to gets done. So that's the first one. Then you said crisis. I think that's the next level.
Yes. Yeah.
Say more.
So I feel like some of our stakeholders, they have their own crises that goes on. And in times of crisis, they are really vulnerable. They really need help.
Yeah.
And if you want to get credits in the bank,
Yeah.
a crisis is a good time to do that. So if you have had balance for like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and it's not our peak period,
Yeah.
suddenly a crisis time come. You would raise your hand. I would raise my hand to help this person
Yeah.
if it's up my alley and I can do a good job, so that the next time I need balance, I have some credits in the bank.
Yeah.
It's always like the touch points that you have with your stakeholders.
Yeah.
So I think we need to balance that out. You can't demand balance for yourself, but what's in it for the other person to give you balance when you need it? When they're in crisis, you got to help them out.
Yeah. And I think there's 3 things, right, to have that credit in the bank. One is hitting your KPIs. 2 is being there to help when people really need your help.
Yes.
Right? And that's different from this colleague who just doesn't know how to balance their time, and then they ask for an 8 p.m. meeting or a 6 or a Saturday meeting. That's not crisis, right? They're just bad planning. We shouldn't indulge that.
Yeah.
But the third thing I feel is what we brought up earlier. Finding and acting on our unique contribution, and then using our own ability to brand ourselves.
Yeah.
Be our talking point. That
Yeah.
okay, Zan, you anything to do with leadership development, she's your girl. We can count on her for that. So we can tolerate when she's not willing to maybe come for an 8 p.m. call, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In work-life balance, we talk about managing our calendars.
Okay.
When I first joined consulting, I realized that all my colleagues had this lunch blocks, and some of them had this 8 to 9 do not touch in capital letters. And I didn't understand that before. And then now I have them too.
Yeah.
I did some research and I know you did some research as well, so I'm going to ask you in a bit. But I found out that, when we talk about strategy, BCG actually advocates calendar management for entire leadership team, the entire top team. And they recommend for them to orchestrate such that Monday is always strategy talk. It's always about the why and where are we going.
Right.
And then the rest of the week cascades across the what and the how and the who, the talent. So it always starts with the why, because calendar management allows you headspace to focus on different things. And if you run around like a headless chicken throughout the week in the leadership team, likely your North Star is not aligned. Right. So calendar management is very important. I wonder what you have read or
Actually,
researched. Yeah.
This point of view of Mondays for strategy is really important. What happens when people don't have Mondays for strategy? One is headless chickens running around, right? That's common. But what I found a lot of leaders do in our work, a lot of the leaders, sorry about that, turn off my phone. A lot of the leaders end up using Sundays. So you're creating part of the problem for yourself, right? Because you don't have your Monday blocked for strategy work, people are using Sundays to plan their week. They're using Sundays to think about what they want to have different direct reports do, what to focus on. And sure, that works, but then that's you giving away more of your resource,
exactly.
Right? To the entrepreneur who's just milking resources from you.
So personally, for me, I like to spend Friday afternoons, like from 4 to 6. I will block my time from 4 to 6 to review what is outstanding for the week, and then look at my calendar for the next week to shift certain things. We mentioned about, sometimes people want us to get into an 8 p.m. call. I would totally ask them if we can do it, in a working hour. Because often we think that, it's just a half an hour call, we could get it. But there's such a thing called mind space, right? Once you get into the headspace of work again, it takes you another hour or two to get into a relaxed space.
Actually on leave, a couple of people have asked, hey Jess, can you do this quick call? It's just half an hour, so and so needs some information, or we need to brainstorm this thing. It's just half an hour. I know it's your leave day. And I think, okay, the kids are having lunch at this time, I can go and do it.
Yeah.
But then in the half an hour before that, I'm already thinking about that.
Exactly.
And then after the half an hour ends and we do the meeting, and then after that, I'm still thinking about it. And I realized that, I've just lost 2.5 hours now because of this, right? So yeah.
Another trick that my colleague told me is to block half a day for emails checking after you come back from a holiday, so that you're not, again, uncentered and not grounded.
Yeah.
If you come back from a holiday, straight away the next day you have a 9 a.m. meetings all the way to 6, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of like really flustered for me. Yeah.
And you're probably the last day of your holiday is just spent in anxiety.
Exactly.
So actually, I think the Monday mornings block is really important, to kind of set our agenda for the week, to plan our time. I have Monday morning meetings. Sometimes, if they can be avoided, I would try to move them around. If they can't, they can't. But the best case, if you're planning your own meetings, plan your Mondays free so that you and your colleagues have that time to strategize. In fact, when I was working in NUS, we used to run workshops for large scale ones, 150 students at a time. And the deal that we agreed was, as much as possible, no workshops on Monday.
Yeah.
Because our workshops will run the full day.
Yeah.
And if your first day of the week, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., you're doing a workshop, when do you have time to set up the room? Sunday, right? When do you have time to do all that, tweaking and finalizing and it's just, start on Tuesday. You got all the time to handle logistics. You got time to plan properly. Much better.
Yeah. So another tip that I read, and I constantly remind myself, I was reading this on a flight to Phuket. It's called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, right?
Okay. How did the monk earn a Ferrari in the first place?
He was a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
He was a lawyer. He would probably have been bald if he continued. Like your
nice career change right there.
I know. And he talks about the Pareto principle. Right. You have heard of that, the 80-20.
Yeah.
Which essentially says that 80% of the results that you get usually comes from just 20% of how you spend your time. That most productive, most effective and efficient 20% of how you spend your time.
Yeah.
Like when you spend your time doom scrolling on Instagram, you're not going to get any outcome from it, right? So Pareto principle, how do we apply this in our job so that we have that work-life balance?
I think the application is in the philosophy that perfection is the enemy of the good, right? Done is better than perfect, right? Of course, there are minimum requirements around client quality, right? Dot your I's, cross your T's, formatting, the quality of your analysis should be there. But then to spend another hour, 2 hours wordsmithing, correcting certain, right? that is where perfection is becoming an enemy of the good, and it is taking away 2 hours of your time where you can be more impactful in other ways.
Yeah, it's really like diminishing returns if you do that. So if you're in an organization leading through the middle, you will have some autonomy into the quality. And I think that's something that you might want to control. Yeah. Of course, if you're working with more senior people who do not apply the Pareto principle, that's a different story together. You might need to, have some trade-offs conversations with them. Might need to give feedback upwards. That could be a conversation for our next podcast.
So that's a good one, right? I think one of the most life-changing hacks for me, and I really apply this very regularly now, is the end of day stock take. So Daniel Pink had this book, right? It's called When? The Scientific Secrets of Perfect Timing, right? And in one of the chapters, he talked about balance, and he talked about the clarity of mind and the productivity the next day when we have this end of day stock take. What this means is, at the end of your workday, we make a stock take of what have I achieved today. Now, most of the time, why do we not have balance? Because we feel we need to keep working because we feel we've not been productive enough. We haven't contributed enough. Mindset, right? But he says that if you do these end of day stock takes 5 minutes before your official end time or whatever time you want to end, and you just list out all the things you've done today, from writing that email to Zen about this new project, to helping so-and-so with some operations matters, to thinking strategy with so-and-so, to brainstorming, you actually realize that while you feel that you've been not so productive, when you do the stock take, you realize, wow, you've actually done a lot. And you reach the end of the day feeling that you have achieved. And so your mind is calmer. And what happens is, along the way, as you're doing this list, you will also find things oh no, I forgot to do this. Oh no, I forgot to do this. Now, in the past, those oh no moments typically come when you're in the shower. Right? Like, oh crap, I forgot to do that. Right? And
it causes anxiety.
And then it eats in your brain the rest of that night. So then, if you're doing it now at the office, as you're doing that checklist, and you say, oh no, I forgot to send that email. Okay, are you going to do it now? If it's a 2-minute task, sure, do it now. But if it's going to take time, plonk it in your diary for the next day or the day after, because then it's out of your head in your diary.
And you could also audit your Pareto principle. Like, where was my time most well spent? What can I do more of for the rest of the week to give me more results, more impact? Okay. I love that.
So that to me, I mean, I practice that daily. It really, really helps.
Okay.
And then sometimes you realize, okay, I haven't been enough. Then all right, I got to activate the 5 a.m., right? Or whatever added time to make sure that you are hitting your performance metrics and your values metrics, right? Because at the end of the day, visibility is important.
So if we had to end the podcast now, what is one last piece of advice you would give our listeners to help them achieve and enjoy, flourishing work-life balance?
One piece of advice is do what you need to do to have your balance, but also manage the visibility. That was my biggest challenge. I was doing all these tactics at the start, and then I realized that by working at home, so I could be more productive and have more output because I was more productive at home, I was causing perceptions that not only does this have balance, he's also not very visible. So do the tactics we've described, but also be visible. So for me, that meant being in the office more, putting my hand up for other projects with other colleagues, other bosses, right? So that people could see the unique contribution that you bring. I think the balancing both is key. Your productivity, but also the visibility.
Okay. For me, I think it would be 2 things. Protect your headspace and also find what makes you alive outside of work. I think it makes you feel life a different way. If
you've got nothing else to live for, then you just keep working.
Exactly, because that seems like the only thing, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast today. And I know this is a topic that will resonate with many of you. So please feel free to engage with us in any way you can. And we'll see you in episode 4.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. See you later.